welcome. It's episode 17. Boy, where did the time go? I can't believe it's already episode 17. And guess what? In less than 3 seconds, I already blown community standards.
Of deceit. Telling the truth is a revolutionary act.
So, January 31st, 2025, year of our Lord, and we really have a lot to go over with tonight. Since YouTube has been flagging my account, and apparently I'm on some sort of weird information pervert list now. Happy Friday, Julie. I now record this on 2 cameras. One connected to Facebook and another one now connected to my GoPro, which is separate. So the perverts at Facebook will not steal this episode, just like they did not steal yesterday's episode, which, might I add, was so good. I'm getting a lot more followers on YouTube and other places. X blew up with it. So I'm going to remind everybody, give me a like. Blast the share button, hit the notification button at Brew Media. Let's get this started, family. Let's bring that big energy in tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about former Senator Bob Menendez getting sentenced. Tulsi Gabbard once again shows that her values are transactional. Healthcare being consolidated at an alarming rate. Some very important key economic issues. And of course, we're going to dig into the flight that killed almost 70 souls. Plus, we have breaking news over the past couple of hours about another plane that went down in Philly, right next to the mall. There's a mall over there. And look, we have to remember something. No matter how much we're being attacked, freedom doesn't come from the Constitution. The Constitution was created to protect our freedoms from government being tyrannical. This is why transparency today is more important than ever, and why I have decided to do my part. I implore you guys and gals to do your part, to speak out against lies and corruption wherever it lies, and regardless of party. We have to fight back against the corrupt media, against corrupt politicians, and I can't wait to get more active in the communities, get out there, get to see some people. We'll get there. Hey, Amy, how you doing, hon? Much love to you. So I'm going to start off my first story with Bob Menendez changing his gold bars for steel bars. And so former Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey, one of the most corrupt states in the country, was sentenced Wednesday to an 11-year prison sentence for trading bribes for political favors. Now, it's sort of, it kind of blows my mind that he actually got caught and actually sentenced, because, it seems like there are so many more people who have traded way more stuff than this guy, like Nancy Pelosi, or so many of them. And at his age, really, it could be a life sentence. He got 11 years for corruption charges. Look, he's 71, but to be honest, Father Time was not good to him. This man looks like he's well past 80 years old. He's a fat slob. He just looks, I wouldn't let this guy around my kids. He kind of looks like a weirdo. But look, he was smart on one thing. He got paid in gold bars, which I tell people, hey, if you have money lying around, sitting around, go trade it in for some gold, for some silver, things that actually protect your assets. And gold just hit $2,800 an ounce, which is the highest ever. We're going to get into that a little bit later when we touch economics. But Bob Menendez was acting as an agent for Egypt. A New York jury found the senator and his wife, Nadine, accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash, gold bars, and luxury cars from three New Jersey businessmen. In exchange, Menendez protected their meat certification monopoly. One of the businessmen, Whale Hanna, in exchange for lucrative kickbacks. And so Menendez was ordered to report to prison by June 6th. Now, you know, he's still very privileged. I mean, how many people, you know, get to wait till June 6th? He'll be dead by June 6th. So there's a chance he might not ever get behind bars. Like I said, look this guy up. He's a filthy slob. He's clearly out of shape. Probably drinks a lot of those Coca-Colas that Robert Kennedy wants to change. Yes, Amy, I agree. Him, Phil Murphy. I mean, I'll never forget when COVID happened, and Phil Murphy's walking around saying you're not an American if, you know, you don't sit there with, you know, wearing 3 diapers on your face. And I made the joke. That's what got me kicked off of Facebook. Well, I didn't get kicked off. I went to Facebook jail because I said, well, you know, if, you know, 1 mask slows COVID and 2 is even better, I says, well, if we put on 6 masks, we can all stop racism. You know, but Bob Menendez was tried for corruption a couple of times in the past. And I remember my senator, Lindsey Graham, Lindsey Do Nothing Graham, used to take trips to New Jersey to defend Bob Menendez. And Bob Menendez, he said, was the most honorable guy he knew in the Senate. Now, if that doesn't tell you what a POS that Lindsey Graham is, my senator, somebody who I can promise this channel will be confronted at some point, you know, when I get a chance. But, you know, look, I applaud the system that put this guy, well, he's not put away yet, but hopefully he gets to see the inside of a jail. You know, these creeps, they have so many ways of staying out of jail, and they're so powerful. That's why I don't like that he's got to wait till June. You know, if it was me or you or anybody else, you know, we're not waiting till June. They're like, hey, you got to go now. Yeah, that's right, Amy. I completely agree. They are definitely, they're just scum. They're just horrible people. And, you know, and it's like, you know, it's like, it's funny because I've had so many debates and with voting. I mean, I think New Jersey probably gets the most amount of dead people voting in an election out of any state. I know California. Wait, no, I might be corrected. California might beat them. But they're a second. They're in a close second. And that's the corruption. I got a buddy in Jersey City. He said to me, he witnessed during the 2020 election, literally baskets of ballots for president in the hallway of these buildings. In the hallway, just ballots sitting there, you know? And so, you know, look, it was people like Phil Murphy who wanted to shut people down for talking out about the election. I think people have a right to protest, you know? And Phil Murphy was the guy who really dropped the hammer on Americans, and you didn't have to be a Republican for him to go after you. He went after you if he just didn't like you. I mean, what a tyrant. And we got to get rid of this guy. So now I'm going to dovetail into my second story, a sudden change of heart. And of course, I'm talking about Tulsi Gabbard, who for years was supporting Edward Snowden, who released over 1 million classified documents exposing crimes in our government that our government was committing. Okay? This guy was a whistleblower. But now that Tulsi is up for nomination and is going through the process, just like she's changed her opinion on the government illegally spying on you and seizing your property, you know, now she's all for Edward Snowden going to prison. She called him a criminal and all this. Her values are very transactional to whoever's in front of her. And there are endless... Look, she was right before. these new positions she's taking, she's only taking these new positions because she wants the job, right? But I think I would rather her look, chances are they're not going to nominate her anyway, right? Because she's controversial. She was a Democrat, all this. But at least go down on your principles, right? Don't change your principles for a job. And I was watching her. I mean, she sounded like a freaking robot. And this is somebody that you can go back on my post. I have supported her for years because she did speak out against Democrats. She did support government transparency. She didn't like that Edward Snowden had to flee to Russia to have freedom. She was against the government, illegal searches and seizures, okay? She was against asset forfeiture. Now she's all for it. It's completely ridiculous. Institutes that classify unconstitutional activities under the disguise of national security are criminals. Okay, so remember that I said that. Institutions that classify unconstitutional activities under the disguise of national security are criminals. Snowden exposed wrongdoing by our government. He should be pardoned immediately. Trump, pardon this guy. He had every right to disclose what was going on. And, the only people that protect like this sort of thing, they tend to be more bootlicking type of people, whatever the government tells me, I just, if they say TikTok is bad, TikTok must be bad. Or, if my government says Coke is bad, or whatever. There's no free thinking there. So, my perspective on that story is that, I want Snowden to get a pardon. I think, people like him and other truth tellers, look, I get it. The government doesn't like to be exposed, but look, how much stuff did they hide from us? How many times they have to violate our rights before people actually stand up? Yeah, she's wishy-washy. Well, no, Amy, I'll go one further. She's a liar. I know a lot of economists, and I don't like when there's an economist like let's take Maria Bartiromo on Fox Business. I used to respect her a lot. I mean, she knows economics. She used to be a straight shooter, okay? And she understands sound money. She understands capitalism. She understands the Constitution. I mean, she was up there as basically like a libertarian, But to get on Fox Business, she's got to become a Republican. Tucker Carlson did the same thing. Tucker Carlson was a big-time libertarian. Used to call out both parties. But then Fox News offered him a job. All of a sudden, Tucker Carlson is now a Republican. And here's the thing that gets me with Tucker Carlson, is that when January 6th happened, Tucker Carlson came out and said, this is his words, not mine. He said, this is going to ruin that piece of shit Trump. I'm glad he's gone. His people are shit. And now it's time to move the Republican Party forward. That's what Tucker Carlson said. And it's almost like people have amnesia, or they didn't see it, or, just because now he kisses Trump's ass, now MAGA likes him. This guy is a piece of garbage. Okay, let me tell you who Tucker Carlson is. You know what Tucker Carlson is? Tucker Carlson, he used to hang out with Hunter Biden. Okay? That used to be his hangout pal. So, it's like, and then they get this new, look, everybody can change. There's nothing wrong with that. But let's call a spade a spade. These people are transactional. Their values change with the wind. Anybody who knows me knows my values. Look, if I see evidence, fact-based evidence that can change an opinion, that's different. But my core values, following the Constitution, sound money, capitalism, freedom, economic freedom, individual freedom, personal freedom. Those core issues have never changed with me. And let me just tell everybody that, if you see somebody on a network and it's owned by billionaires, the corporations, big pharma, okay? That is the media you really need to stop listening to. Those are the guys who, they get a report sheet, okay? And they read off the sheet, okay? And if they're in the Republican wing, they'll read whatever the Republicans want. If they're in the Democrat side, they'll read whatever the Democrats want. And trust me, they are working for their masters. They are not working for you. So that's where I stand on that stuff. But like Maria Bartiromo, it's like, and again, Trump did some really great things in his first term. But, when she talks about inflation, she says things like housing inflation or food inflation. She knows there's no such thing. Okay? Like she will call out Biden for spending $8 trillion, but won't say, hey, Trump also spent $8 trillion. Okay? That stuff pisses me off. Look, you could support Trump and still say, hey, this guy spent way too much in his first term. I hope he spends less in his second, right? But what I can't stand are when people lie for somebody. Like, oh man, like, God forbid if we tell the truth. Like, you're not helping anybody by making pretend like Obama spent $7 trillion, right? The Democrats did not help themselves by protecting Obama, right? Because when they protected Obama, we got Trump, right? When the Republicans protected Trump, we got Biden. And if the Republicans do it again and don't hold Republicans in Congress accountable, you're going to get Democrats again. That's what's going to happen. Unless we have enough brave people out there to stop licking the boots of both parties and vote third party. Stop being a bunch of wusses, for God's sake. Come join Vote Gold. Not geniuses. Thank you, Julie. We're going to start looking like Pinocchio in Washington. My mother, let me just read this real quick. That's right, Amy. It doesn't make any sense lying, because eventually the lies are going to come out and people are going to find it. That's why, it's so important. Like, I can support somebody even if I didn't vote for them, right? I mean, every president that gets elected, I always say, hey, I hope that guy does good, because I care about the country first, right? I'm not such a masochist that I'm like, oh, I'm rooting for this guy to do bad. That's ridiculous. You should not, that kind of thing shouldn't be happening, but it's the party system that forces people to fight with each other. And look, Obama threw us in the Bush Jr. threw the country in a ditch. Obama went even further. We have to call these people out. So story 3, healthcare is being consolidated and you're footing the bill. A groundbreaking new study found that nearly 200,000 primary care physicians analyzed the percentage of doctors affiliated with hospital systems has almost doubled since 2009, with about half of general practitioners affiliated with hospitals in 2022. So we know that number has gone way up. It turns out that family doctors are joining hospital systems because of low reimbursement rates from insurance companies, and practices affiliated with larger corporations have more leverage to negotiate higher prices. So, basically, and this happened to me. I mean, I had a practice when I first moved here. It was a hometown practice. They got gobbled up by the hospital system. Then next thing you know, my doctor's gone, the next doctor's gone, that doctor's gone. You know, it's like you go in and you don't know who you're going to talk to. I think I talked. Finally, I left. I said, you know what? Get me out of your system. You know, if I get sick, I'll figure it out. I just couldn't take, you know, the costs were really high on my end. And the service just sucked. I mean, you cannot compare the service from a private practice compared to one that's been gobbled up by one of these big corporations. They're horrible. And a smaller but growing portion of doctors are selling their practices to private equity firms. So as of 2023, nearly 4 in 5 physicians were employees of the hospital system, private equity firms, insurance giants, or other corporations. According to a new study, prices for office visits are 11% higher for hospital-affiliated doctors and 8% higher for private equity-affiliated doctors as of 2022. We know prices have only gone up since 2022. Now, I belong to a concierge medicine. I pay $2,000 a year. My doctor does a small practice, get anything I want. 24/7, that's the best way to go. Yeah, you know, Amy, that's funny that you said that, because I also do, I couldn't think of it, concierge medicine, where I believe that's where I go on the internet and pull up a doctor and, you know, what was that? It was, membership based. So, so that works good. But if we remember when they said Obamacare was going to fix all of this and prices were going to go down, and we were going to love, you know, you could have your Obamacare if you wanted, if you could keep it. You know, MDIP, best doing it over 25 years. Okay, thank you for that. I'm gonna have somebody write that down for me. I appreciate that, Amy. I believe I pay a monthly fee or annual. I gotta be honest, I have so much going on, I can't remember which one that I do. But I have doctors, I have access to a doctor anytime. And, you know, and I can do it on my cell phone. And I love that kind of service, that's great. You know, but here's the thing, like with what happened to me last weekend, that's not going to work. Because then you got to go to the doctor. You know, then you have to see somebody. And the best was, and I joke around about this because, you know, I always talk about the woman who comes before you see the doctor. Like the nurse came and, you know, he was like really concerned with me. Great guy. I told him, I said, listen, give me a needle if you're going to give me fluids that I can walk around with, because I cannot lay in that bed. He said, all right, you're going to be challenging. He says, but I'll get it done. And he did it. And I didn't even feel the needle. But I knew before I was going to get back there, that woman was going to come with the little cart with the computer and start asking me all sorts of stupid questions, which she did. You know, now, in my mind, I don't know, hey, did I blow something inside of me? You know, I'm literally in some of the worst pain I've had in years. And, you know, this woman's asking me things like, do you feel depressed? You know, stupid stuff like that. And then I always answer with a remark like, yes, I'm depressed, that you can't get the common sense to just take my medical and leave me the hell alone. Let me get the doctor, you know. Obamacare shit. Well, look. Obamacare is basically a transfer payment. It's another welfare payment. It's another tax system. You know, criticize of Trump's. I voted for Trump in 2016 because he said, we're going to get rid of Obamacare, right? This is a disaster. We're going to get rid of it. Now he's saying, no, we can't get rid of it. we got to strengthen it. We got to make it better. No, I don't want Obamacare. I don't want Trump care. I don't want Hillary care. I don't want Nancy Pelosi care. What I want is free market care. Now, if we're going to help people, again, it's like everything else. We have to means test it and make sure we're helping people who can't afford health care, right? So, okay, so it's funny. Everybody's going to get a load out of this. So, earlier today, I go in Denny's, and I just wanted an omelet or something. And, I haven't been there in a while. And I said, I'm going to treat myself. And so I did that. And I noticed around me people ordering steaks and this, that, this is the middle of the day, ordering steaks or whatever. And so then I look at my phone and I go, holy shit, these people must have got their government checks. Because the first of the month, the beginning of the month, everybody gets their checks. Everybody become big spenders, Here I am, eating eggs, they're getting the steak. But this is why, look, we got to stop, with the handouts to people who don't deserve it, right? I'm all for helping out people who actually need it. I am not for, giving, health care to somebody with a bigger house than ours. I think that's completely ridiculous. Somebody living in a 3,000 square foot house, 4,000 or 5,000 square foot house. I'm sorry. You don't get Obamacare. You don't get Medicare. You don't get any of it, right? You have over $1 million in assets. I'm sorry. You need, just like everything else, we can't afford to give it to you no more. But the people who need it, people with 100,000 and under in assets, those are the people we need to help. That's just my opinion. So President Trump, if you ever get to watch this, please mean test everything. So while prices are rising, it turns out that patient care got worse after 2 private equity firms acquired 2 major hospitals. So Americans are paying more for worse care as a result of all these private equity firms gobbling up health care. Private equity firms, now check this out. Private equity firms have gobbled up over $1 trillion worth of practices and over 8,000 healthcare deals, giving us less options and lower standards. And, look, as much as, I like concierge service, I can tell you a service that was better than that. And that was Dr. Freed that I grew up with, where he knew your family, he came to your house, it was a few bucks, he had the black bag, it didn't cost much. Matter of fact, I was talking to my elderly mother the other night, and she brought up, I didn't bring him up, she brought up Dr. Freed, because she has to take a colonoscopy in a couple of weeks, and she really wished, because every time she goes to her doctor, it's always a different doctor, and it's like, it's very informal, and I go in person, I get a great physician every year. They said all my blood work, soup to nuts. I'm going to send the information, but thank you. Please, Amy, please send that. I look forward to checking out what you're talking about, that you get to go in person. I did not know that. The only concierge I have is I get the doctor's cell phone and I can call them. I did not know that I could have a local doctor the same way. So I'll definitely check that out. Thank you for passing me that information. But but the prices, just a few dollars. You have a few dollars. Sometimes the doctor even had some medicine on him, and it's like, it's tough, especially when you're having something personal like a colonoscopy. You don't even know the doctor. Like, it's just kind of like you feel like cattle at some point. And although she's a brave woman, she brought it up because I know she's a little nervous and scared, which is normal. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. So look, we need to get government as much out of healthcare as possible. It will help lower prices. Everybody who's old enough remembers how expensive it was before Obamacare, right? And and before all these private equity firms and hospitals gobbled everybody up, it's not a good system when your hospital system controls everyone in town. That's not a good system. What you want is competition. You want freedom of choice. There really is no choice if you only have one option in your town. Now, I'm in a big area, not as big as where Amy is, but a pretty big area. And so I have a bunch of options where I am, a bunch of different healthcare systems. But I've noticed them consolidate over the past few years, and it's pretty scary stuff to see that. So now I want to dovetail into economics. So the Federal Reserve just came out and did not cut rates. In the FMOC meeting, Jerome Powell happened to remove certain verbiage that would talk about their progress on inflation moving towards their target of 2% inflation. Okay? So he stripped the wording out. This was the first time since the inflation fires were started in 2020 that Powell did not mention the progress. And when asked during his press conference, he said, "Do not read into that. I just wanted to shorten a sentence." Now, of course, this is a load of bull, right? And to me, it was clear that they were not making progress on their target of 2%, and why I've been saying rates need to go much higher in order to slay the inflation dragon. Now, Trump had come out after being sworn in, and he was on Sean Hannity, and he said, these rates are monumental, like trying to make it sound like these rates are unbelievably high. Now, look, Trump was in real estate, okay, and he's been in it his whole life. If you average out the past 50 years of rates, we're actually still below the average. The average rates over the past 50 years has been well above 5.5%. We're only at 4.25%. So I don't know what he's talking about as far as, he's just, what he's trying to do is he wants to bully Powell into lowering rates. But if you lower rates, all that's going to do is add more stimulation to the economy, which is going to drive up prices. Because again, the government can't print more stuff. They can only print more paper. And that's exactly what they're doing. Powell didn't make any sense, because if he thought that inflation was headed closer to 2% target, he would have been bragging about it, like he's done in the past. This was an acknowledgement that we're going in the wrong direction. Now, let me give you some of the latest set of numbers that back up what I'm saying. And let's talk about personal income. So, personal income rose 0.4%. You say, wow, that sounds pretty good, However, personal spending rose by 0.7%. So basically, Americans are going deeper into debt and dipping further into their shallow savings as rising cost of living are, destroying their purchasing power. And now, what we're seeing is a flood of housing hitting real estate. And what's happening is there aren't enough buyers. So what's happening is, right now, if you want to buy, like, let's say a brand new house, builders are paying some of the interest rate. They are giving away as much as they can. Their margins are very slim right now. But if you have an existing home going up for sale or for sale, this is not COVID 2022 where people were just buying up stuff. We are seeing a collapse in price because there aren't enough buyers. People are not bidding up housing prices like they used to. And what's really pushing people away from buying a home right now, it has nothing to do really with the price of the house or the price of the interest rate. It has to do with other costs like homeowners insurance. Can I get homeowners insurance? HOA fees. Can they afford that? The cost of maintaining the house. This is scaring a lot of people off because now, where a lot of people, we remember when the mortgage was, that's it. If you had a mortgage, if you had your taxes included, everything, that nut was the biggest nut in the purchase of the house. But now that's no longer the case. Now the homeowner's insurance is bigger with the HOA, property taxes, insurance. All of this is snowballing, and people are saying, hey, wait a minute. Hey, I'll buy your house, but you're going to take 20, 30, 40, 50 grand off. And now, as people are losing income, you're going to have less buyers. So right now, we're at pre-pandemic levels on housing, so there's no more housing shortage. We have plenty of homes on the market. We just don't have any buyers. And this was my fear back when the go COVID days of housing was in. I was saying, because people say, oh, there's always going to be a demand for housing. Well, that's not true, because when the '08 crash happened, you had all these houses on the market, nobody was buying them, right? Like other countries, like let's take Venezuela, for instance. You don't think Venezuela needs housing? Why don't they sell? Why? Why don't they have a booming housing market? Because their currency is shit, right? It's garbage. And so as the Federal Reserve destroys the purchasing power of the dollar, and as buyers' purchasing power gets weaker, there's less availability of buyers to buy your home. So official government inflation measures continue to underreport the true extent of rising costs. Now, just to give you another key indicator, just yesterday, gold hit 2,800 for the first time. Boy, did I call this, Gold hit an all-new record time high yesterday. Gold and other commodities have been hitting record highs. And this is because the dollar is losing purchasing power. And here's another indicator that we're in trouble. The Federal Reserve, they're printing money. The money supply grew in December by 0.4%. If you extrapolate that out for the year, that's 5% inflation. You're talking triple the amount of inflation than what their target is. They just printed that in 1 month. So, thank you, everyone. So look, this is why people need to stick to programs like this, like, share, comment, educate themselves on this stuff, because what you're being told on Fox Business or CNBC, they're just absolute crypto shills. They're just absolute shills for the Federal Reserve. They want to suck up to the administration. Whoever's in power. They're just gonna, blow their boots. And I'm going to tell it like it is. You want to make sound investments. There's a reason why the Constitution demands Congress that they deem no money other than gold, okay? And a banknote, which is your dollars, are supposed to be backed by gold according to the Constitution. And there's not supposed to be a central bank, right? Because think about it. Here we are lecturing China about, they're communists, right? But we have a central bank, and we have a group of people who decide how much money is. Why should anyone have that much power, right? We need to end the Fed. I don't want to audit it. I want to end the Fed, bring back natural banking, bring back where one bank competes with another bank. They create their own currencies, and we get to decide what currency is best for us. You know, I agree with the principles of the Bitcoiners or crypto. Look, I agree with them that we need to be more decentralized, that we need to, get the government out of our currency. I agree with them with all that. I just don't agree that value is held in something that you can't do anything with, right, other than trade it, right? So that's where I disagree with them, where things like gold and silver have an actual use, right? And what you're storing is that use for future generations. So, like, think about this. The gold that's on me has been around since the Big Bang Theory, okay? And after I'm long gone, you even if you nuked where I'm sitting right now, you nuke it, the gold will still be here, okay? It's not going anywhere. It might be in a different state, but the gold properties will still be there. And that's the important thing about gold. Yeah, well, look, it's funny because I used to have a gold money account. And gold money was it was basically like a bank account where you could use gold and transfer money that way, and that was a really good. I invested in that. I divested in that a couple of years ago, but look, there is a place for credit cards. There's a place for cash, but there's no purpose. Here's the thing, I remember, my grandparents, my grandmother, you got to think they grew up in the Depression. So, she would, she'd save everything. And she was very big. It was old school, right? You put a few dollars in the shoebox, stick it under your mattress, right? Well, the only problem with that is that although you can save the cash dollars under your mattress, you cannot save the purchasing power. See, here's the thing, right? When we go to work and we trade our labor for dollars, right? The point of going to work is that we get money, and that money can buy us what we want to buy, right? That's the purpose. But when you don't back that money by anything, and you have a central bank like we have now, okay, which, by the way, is unconstitutional. It's not even in the Constitution. What happens is, every week that they're printing money, you're losing purchasing power. So, for instance, let's say you get a raise. You get $1 an hour raise, right? So, let's say that equals, in the grand scheme of things, 2% extra pay, per week, per year, per whatever, right? But if they're destroying your purchasing power by 7%, you've lost 5%, right? So holding that cash under your bed no longer, it's actually the worst thing you can do, because now they're attacking your money. I shouldn't call it money. It's not money. That's another thing. There's a difference between money and currency. Money is gold and silver. That's real money. Anybody can look that up. Currency is what they're creating at the Federal Reserve. So they're two totally different things. And when it's not backed by, when currency is fiat, it is not backed by anything, they destroy it. So as we're going to work, just like I was saying earlier, let me look that back up. So like, for instance, in December, personal income rose by 0.4%. You go, yeah, that's great. But yet the Federal Reserve stole 0.7%. You lost 0.3% and you did the same job. Like, you're working harder and you're getting less. And so this is what's really hurting. And so gold and other commodities have been hitting record highs, and this is because the dollar is losing purchasing power, and the money supply in December grew by 0.4%, which extrapolated for the year is 5%. And I think everybody knows where I stand on that stuff. Now, this dovetails into another story. So, Americans shopping with no money? How's that? So, check this out. Right now, the only thing that's really driving the American economy is the consumer spending. But here's the problem. Amy, I agree with you. People should try and stay away from the credit cards as much as possible. Because most of the things people buy with credit cards depreciate, right? They have no value, right? They're going to Target, they're like buying junk, and by the time you pay the interest on that credit card, whatever the hell you bought in Target's probably thrown out in the trash anyway. But consumer spending went up 0.4% in the last quarter. Now you would say, wow, people are spending more. This sounds great. But that was not because people were bringing home more stuff, but rather because prices rose. So what's happening is it's making the GDP look bigger and stronger than it actually is. Yes, people are spending more, but they're not coming home with more stuff, which forced people to pay more for the same amount of goods they did the prior quarter. So this makes the markets once again distorted by inflation. And when this levels out, we're going to see a major correction in the GDP and labor market. So what's happening is, I was looking at another indicator. American disposable income has fallen as well. This is not good for an American economy built on service. Income rose 0.1%, but spending rose 0.4%. This is hammering the worker. Look, disposable income is falling. Disposable income is the type of income like, hey, I'm going to get my hair done. Hey, I'm going to get my nails done. Hey, I'm going to go on that trip. That's being wiped out, right? People are getting wiped out because what's happening is it's costing them more and more to get to work, to put groceries on the table. I was talking to somebody on Facebook, about the egg situation. Eggs being $10 a carton. And in a conversation, just people don't think and how rude they can be. Just completely rude. And I couldn't believe what this woman said. She's a mother. And she says, people are only complaining now about food. Well, that's not true. Because Trump was elected because food prices were too high, right? Trump was elected because rents are too high. Prices are too high, right? So right there, the woman, she wasn't factual. But then she says one step further. Because I always think about people like my elderly mother or aunt who are on a really fixed income. I help subsidize their life. I help get them through their month. Every month I gotta help them because their Social Security check no longer pays the bills, right? So I'm doing what a son is supposed to do and a nephew and help them out. And here I have this person saying stuff like, well, you don't have to live with eggs. I mean, are you fucking serious? What, you're the only one privileged enough to buy a fucking egg, you asshole? No. You know what? My mother deserves eggs. You know what? My mother was a fucking server for over 35 years, busted her fucking ass serving eggs. And you know what? If my mother wants a fucking egg, she's gonna have it. Damn it. And you and all of you people can go fuck yourselves who say shit like that. No. My mother deserves eggs. Your mother deserves eggs. If you busted your ass, and think about it, my mother was lied by the system. My mother was told, you know why? You know why she did what she did and why she's in the situation she is? And why so many seniors are? So many boomers don't have savings? I'm going to tell you why. Because the government promised you and said, hey, we're going to steal from you every week, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and when it's your turn, we're going to get you your money and we're going to take care of you because it's an insurance. And you know what they did? They stiffed them. And as time goes on, as more people get on, they're stiffing more people. Okay? She was like, thank you. I'll take it. I'll take a standing ovation. Yes. Thank you, Amy. Yes. And this is the thing, and that's right, Isaac. You know, and here's the thing. Look, I'm not for Social Security either. I'm not for any of these programs, but they have to be means tested. You got, like, people who, look, we can't just kick people off. But, I'm sorry, if you have over a certain amount, you're not getting a check. Like, myself, let's put me in this. I have way too much in assets. I don't want a Social Security check. I'm not bragging. This isn't to, you know, make myself sound something that I'm not. But I'm just saying, take my check and give it to someone else who needs it. Like, people like Trump or Pelosi. You think Nancy Pelosi needs a Social Security check? I mean, she's worth hundreds of millions. She's worth like $1 billion. We're giving her a check. Her and her husband. No. Bullshit. You know? That's ridiculous. We can at least... Look, President Trump, if you get this, if Republicans get this, be a fucking conservative for the first time. Say, listen... Thank you. Thank you. So, be a conservative. Conserve, right, is in the word, conservative. Get these programs, say, look, I'm sorry, we're not going to pay you to go pay the bar tab on the golf course, right? We're not going to pay you to go to the strip club, right? We're not going to pay you to, you know, pay off your third, fourth, fifth house. I'm sorry. Social Security, matter of fact, when Social Security was created, okay, even FDR, as socialist as he was, he made it so that if you owned a business, you didn't get Social Security. You didn't pay into it. You couldn't get it, right? And the purpose for that, and even he said, and anybody can look it up, that if you're smart enough to start a business, you're smart enough to save money. And the purpose of Social Security was to pay people that needed it, right? It wasn't for paying some yuppie, you know, in his 5,000 square foot house, you know, with six SUVs in the driveway. So look, you know, so in order for, well, the best thing Jerome Powell can do is disband the Federal Reserve, right? But he's not going to do that, right? Because nobody in government wants to get rid of the jobs that they have. But really what Powell needs to do if he wants to get the inflation fire under control, he's got to raise rates, right? He's got to do it. And what he's got to do is try and get our currency backed by something real again. Or this is just going to keep happening. You know, so I believe the next few quarters are going to be very interesting because the data is showing that we're headed in the wrong direction. And so I'm really interested. Yeah, I agree with you, Amy. Yeah, that guy's got to go. You know, Powell's got to go, but really the whole thing's got to go. You know, again, you know, if you, again, what I would like are banks to compete with each other, right? States to compete with each other. You know, that's why do you think states have their own constitution? Okay? Because they were supposed to compete like in Europe, right? When you have France and Italy competing with each other. That's kind of how it was set up. Remember, they were colonies at first, right? And so all the federal government was supposed to do, right? The only job is to protect our individual and economic freedoms. That was it. You know, to protect your liberty on the First Amendment, you know, right to bear arms, freedom to address your government, right, without being put on some weird, you know, site to incriminate you. You know, they're not supposed to be doing illegal searches and seizures. They're not supposed to be, what? You have a couple of baggies here. They're empty, but you got a few baggies here. Oh, look, look, you got a bunch of, look, you had a bunch of cash on you. We get to take your car now. Civil asset forfeiture. No, screw you. No, listen, no. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no. Just because, I might have some cash on me doesn't mean I'm a dope dealer. And even if I was a dope dealer, you still do not have the right to take my cash, hold it, and charge. You're going to charge my money with a crime? You're going to charge my car with a crime? You people are ridiculous. And look, as long as I have breath in me and people are willing to listen, or I could be talking to the wall, I am going to be exposing all this bullshit that the government is not supposed to be doing. Government is not supposed to be infringing on our personal rights. Leave us alone, right? That's all we're asking for. Follow the Constitution. I say it on every live pretty much. I want Trump to be the most successful president on the planet, but he can only do that. Only way he can do that is to follow the Constitution. That's the only way he can do it. Follow common sense, sound money principles. You are not going to get to the promised land by violating the Constitution. It's never happened before, and it will never happen. And the founders were wise enough to give us a blueprint how to do it, right? We created the greatest country on planet Earth, right? People were willing to die to get here, right? Why do you think so many young men and women signed up when they thought the world was going to be taken over by the Nazis and stuff like this? Why did they want to protect our freedom? Because there was something special here, and we're losing it. We are losing our freedoms every day, and we need to call it out and stand up for what is right. Even the States is the most tyrannical. Yes! You know what, Isaac? Matter of fact, I made a post not long ago. I talk about that all the time. First off, you're right. Your local government could be so freaking tyrannical. Your local sheriff, your local, sometimes you put these people in, what is that, on those city councils. They could be tyrannical. I mean, if, for instance, okay, so you think I'm in a conservative, I'm in Greenville, South Carolina now, okay? I grew up in Flatlands, Brooklyn, between there, Jersey City, right? So I was in the heart of the socialist empire growing up. And, well, actually, back then it wasn't as bad as now, but it was pretty bad. But, so now I live in Greenville, South Carolina. And, I just had a thing come through, two things come through, where they're going to rip up all the grass, natural grass, at all of our schools and put turf in. I mean, who voted for that? Did I vote for that? I mean, again, now you say to yourself, well, what's the problem with that? Well, I'm going to tell you what the problem is. The problem is they taxed us too high. They got the tax money and they don't want to give it back, so they have to find little pet projects, right? Like this, like putting turf at the schools. Now, why is the grass no good? It's been good all this time, right? Or I have another one. They have all this extra money, right? So a lot of people look like heroes on the local levels because of inflation, right? Because of inflation, they're collecting way more tax. So it makes them look like geniuses. But, they just built an entire big, huge city complex for government workers. And, Isaac, they said to me, give your license to enter this building. I said, the hell I will? Now, I didn't have my GoPro because I believe in First Amendment audits. I don't know if anybody out there watches First Amendment audits. I'm going to do some First Amendment audits on this channel, so I hope people check that out because I believe we need to call out stuff like that. I says, no, you are not going to violate my 4th, 5th, 14th Amendments. No, you are not going to violate my First Amendment, okay? I have every right to be in this building without you seizing my ID. Now, mind you, I helped pay for this building, okay? This building, when I tell you there wasn't a dollar spared, marble from, up to the ceiling. They went from this little county building to this massive two skyscraper building, just packed with nothing but administrative people to come up the system. I remember I went into the tax assessor's office. Now, mind you, they didn't get my ID because I pressed them. As a matter of fact, I put on the paper Ben Franklin. That's a classic one for First Amendment. I put Ben Franklin, and then he says, "How should I address you?" I said, "You call me good citizen," right? And so so the point is that, you know, and then what they do is, like, they'll get this big building and then they just do whatever they want. And what they'll do is they will create a lot of local laws that just gum up the system. Hey, you know, you want to build a deck on your house? Well, not without my permission. You know, like, I remember going into the building because I'm in real estate, housing is one of the investments that I'm in. And so I go in the building department, and it's like, I'm having people decide whether or not I can build something who never built a fucking thing in their life. And these pricks Isaac, you just opened up a can of worms. So, these pricks, first off, they don't even get fucking dressed, okay? When you go into county offices, they look like fucking slobs. I'm sorry, but they do, okay? That shit's gotta stop, right? You're representing a city or a town. You shouldn't look like a fucking bum. That's number one. Number two, I don't want to be told I can't put an extension on my house or put a driveway in or something by people who never built a fucking thing in their life. All right? I'm sorry. Just like my mother deserves eggs, I deserve a driveway, right? Look, it's my money, my property. Leave me alone, you control perverts. So, thank you, Isaac. I knew you'd get a hit at it. Thank you. So, where are we? Okay. So, I want to dovetail into something else. I want to give a little different perspective about the airline and helicopter crash. Something that you guys have probably not heard yet. Because when that accident happened in D.C., I was just going live on Wednesday, so I didn't get to see it until the next morning. And I remember I was up early. You know, it's strange because I had a dog for almost 24 years, and I used to walk her at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. I still get up. Now, I lost her like 3 years ago, but I still get up at that time. So I go out, I go get a coffee or whatever, and walk. And I heard the story, and I heard that there were kids on it. I started tearing up, man. I was really hurt by it. And I'm sure a lot of you people were hurt by it. But, you know, look, there's a lot of theories floating around, from the helicopter being remotely flown into the plane to the mentally ill or dwarfs, you know, not knowing what they're doing in the control tower. I didn't know that they hired dwarfs, but apparently they might. And then there's the blame game. It's Trump's fault. It's Biden's fault. You know, God forbid if we blame the government. You can't blame the government. They don't do anything wrong. Only you do something wrong, right? So mind you, it's the government in control of this. But, you know, we're not going to blame the government because they're just so holy and mighty. So I'm not going to do any of that tonight. You know, one thing that our country never has a shortage of are people to make up stuff and not take responsibility. And of course, politicians are pointing the fingers at everyone but themselves. Everything is about scoring a cheap political point, even on the souls of dead children and servicemen. I can't imagine the legendary Ron Paul, libertarian, doing that, or Chase Oliver. I can't imagine those two gentlemen. I just can't imagine trying to score points off of dead children and servicemen. That, to me, is just, it's killing me. So, the media is always quick to ask, who's at fault? You know, what policy is going to be changed? Because we always got to create a new law. of course, it's going to steal our freedoms. And in my opinion, this is just one more symptom of politics going amok. The weaponization of our politics to try and blame each side or both is really to push us into a civil war. Things are so quick to get put out of proportion. And, as Christians or Jews or just as American atheists, right? We need to put them back into perspective, okay? And yes, atheists too, right? They are people, who deserve every amount of freedom and respect as everyone else, So I am not going to point the fingers without all the details. And I want to share something different. We lost almost 70 human lives. And apparently another plane went down in Philadelphia just a few hours ago. And I'm already seeing all sorts of stuff being said. And look, people have a right to believe whatever they want. But we also have to understand that every single human life that was on that plane, okay, was a person and is not just another aviation collision statistic. In the meantime, it does point out and underline once again, in tragic but indubitable terms, what is at stake in the difference between life and death. And just how quickly, in just the space of an instance, the difference between life and death can be just about everything. Think about this. The passengers were all preparing to get off the plane and get on with their lives and their business. The crew on the helicopter, they were following their assignment. Meanwhile, the crew on the plane were concentrating on landing safely. The fact is that all of that changed in an instant. And that is and should be a humbling reality for everyone. May everyone have peace to everyone mourning. And may this tragedy remind us of the brevity of life. None of us are promised tomorrow, which is why all of us must be ready for eternity. If you are not ready for eternity, I strongly advise you, tell the people that you love them. Tell them that you care about them. Stand up for what you know is right. Stand up for individual liberty, individual freedom. Stand up for your family. Don't accept people saying that your mother doesn't deserve eggs, or that you accept the government telling you or your neighbor they can't build a deck, right? Time is short. I don't want to waste it in some government building begging for stuff, for the stuff I should be allowed to do, right? But more importantly, tell those that you love them. Respect each other's personal liberties. We don't have to agree with what everybody does. If you do something and I don't agree with it, I am not going to use the government against you. You please do the same thing. That's all I ask. Just be good citizens to each other. Talk to each other. Find out what the differences are. Don't be so quick to fight. Be quick to find solutions, and the best solution always is peace and freedom. Peace, freedom, individual liberty. Listen, that's the beautiful part about being an outsider, being part in the libertarians. I don't have to play that blame game. I blame the government, right? I blame human error, right? People are allowed to make mistakes. People are allowed to make mistakes. I've made them. I will make them continually because I'm a human being. right? And just because somebody has a faith and somebody else doesn't, and somebody else believes this and somebody else doesn't, don't make them bad people. It doesn't, right? The character of the person is what counts. How they live their life is what counts. So look, I'm not going to sit here lecturing people how to live. Look, I love you guys. I appreciate everyone for coming and sharing with me. Please think about those souls that died. There were just some more souls that passed away. Keep the Constitution in your heart. Keep freedom in your heart. I love you. I'm going to take off. God bless. Have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday. God bless. Thank you.